Transporter Refueled is the 4th installment in the Transporter series. A lot of people are saying that this is a reboot, but it's only just because it's a new guy playing Frank Martin instead of Jason Statham, because honestly they don't really change anything that happened in the other Transporter movies, so it's more of a reboot sequel. And what this movie's about is that these girls are trying to get revenge on this human trafficking ring by stealing all of their money, and they need Frank Martin's help to do so. And when Frank Martin is like, forget it, they reveal, hey, we got your dad, so you should probably help us. And when I watched the trailers for the Transporter Refueled for the first time, I thought, you know what, this feels like the Transporter movies, at least the good ones, the first one and the second one. The third one was garbage. It felt like it was going to be a really fun, dumb movie, just like the first two were. And my favorite are the first two, because the third one was directed by the man who made Taken 2 and Take 3 in. And then, going into this movie, I found out the director not only directed the Pretty Bad Brick Mansions, I didn't see that, just the reviews suck for it, but she was also the editor for the Transporter 3 and Taken 2. Everything was explained. And then hearing the buzz before going into this movie and John Campea tweeting that this was one of the worst movies he's seen in a long time, having that buzz just wasn't really the greatest thing going into it, but honestly, walking out, I didn't hate it. Is it a good movie? No, it's not a good movie. It's a really bad movie, but here's the thing. There are worse movies out there. For example, this year, Unfinished Business, Hot Pursuit, and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Movies that are horrendous, horrible, and should never be watched by anyone. All three of those movies are worse than Transporter Refueled. In fact, there are other movies that are worse than Transporter Refueled that have come out this year. Transporter Refueled is just that movie that you watch for one time only and you completely forget about. Or you just have it on in the background while you're working or doing something else. Or you just need the noise to go on. That's the kind of movie that Transporter Refueled is. And it is a short movie. It's not overly long or anything. It's just like the other Transporter movies. It's like only an hour and a half. So that was really good. It's not like you were just sitting there like, oh, just end already! It's just a really short movie. And the action scenes are really fun to watch. Like, there are a couple times where this certain editing style occurs. Like, for example, in the beginning, there are a bunch of guys, like, surrounding Frank Martin's car, and then Frank Martin shows up and he's gotta beat him up. They speed up in editing his punch. Like, you can just tell, there's one guy that he punches that just like, it's like, that looks so fake. And there's one scene, the best fight scene in my opinion in the whole movie, where Frank Martin took out a worker and he goes into this lounge. He's like, oh no, the door's locked, and the workers are behind him like, hey, you can't leave, man, and he's gotta beat them all up. That scene was actually my favorite scene in the entire film. In fact, my favorite part of that scene was when there's a bunch of drawers and he's like pulling them out to hit dudes in the face. He pulls one out, a dude's leg gets up there and he like smacks it, breaking it. That was really well done, very choreographed, very well, and the camera was not shaky at all. It was actually perfectly still. However, there is some part in that scene where it's like they do a whole 360 and then they do like a weird editing for a couple seconds that just really took me out of it for a bit. And the action scenes are good, but the editing style really prevents it from being really memorable. And plus, as far as action movies that we've gotten this year, like Mad Max and Mission Impossible and Age of Ultron, this is definitely not as good as that. There are even conveniences that happen in the action scenes, like, for example, Frank Martin and these two bad guys are in this room and there's just a bunch of battle axes there. And there are just some really funny, dumb moments, like Frank Martin is driving his jet ski onto this beach and he jumps off the jet ski and perfectly aims to kick the guy driving a car. He like goes through the window. This is the car, this is Frank Martin. Boom! The driver gets kicked out. Holy crap, that was dumb. Speaking of dumb moments, there's one scene where you have the bad guy's introduction scene, right? And it's like you've just seen the bad guys, and then 5 minutes after that bad guy introduction scene, they show him again, but the movie thinks, hey, you guys probably don't remember these bad guys from 5 minutes ago. Let's have flashback segments. What? Movie, you think we're dumb, but we're not. We can understand that these guys were the guys from the beginning scene. You don't need to have flashbacks for these guys. And the plot overall, just the way it was executed, just, it's like they tried to reveal some things. They're like, oh, we're clever. And then you're just like, no, I've seen that before, but nice effort, I guess. And the girls in this movie, there was one girl that I actually liked. She actually seemed like she had the most character out of all of them, and she was kind of the better character overall. She has a crush on Frank Martin, you know, that's a thing. Even though Frank Martin falls in love on like every single movie he's in. It's like, I can't buy this romance. Even if this character is good and this character's good, I can't buy it because I know Frank Martin's fallen in love like 3 other times. But she was the best character out of the girls in this movie because the other girls just feel like the tag-alongs, and I know their story's probably similar to this girl, but you should probably explore that to make them interesting characters, because when I'm watching them, I'm just like, oh no, not the tag-alongs, they're in danger. Oh boy. And speaking of Frank Martin, Ed Skrein, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, he did a good job playing Frank Martin. Is he as good as Jason Statham? No! He's not as good. Jason Statham owns that role and made Frank Martin famous. Lawnmower! No, shut up! But Ed Skrein did a pretty good job trying to do this role justice. He didn't tarnish it or anything like that. He just did a very decent job. And Ray Stevenson, who plays Frank Martin's dad, he was really good in the movie, and the way they kind of bounced off each other, that was really well handled. However, there's one part of the Ray Stevenson bit where the Ray Stevenson got a crush on this one girl, and they're like, oh, they're talking back and forth, and even though he's kind of a playboy dad, he's, you know, got a crush on this one girl, and really, that whole thing didn't pay off for, like, one scene at the end. And by the way I'm saying that this romance didn't pay off until one scene at the end, probably tells you what's gonna happen. And the bad guys are just not threatening at all. Frank Martin, he's awesome. He can karate chop people and punch them in the face, and they go down, and it's awesome. He can drive cars really well, and that's great. So you gotta have villains that are able to take down Frank Martin. Do they have those good villains? No. These villains are not threatening in the least. Really, like, there's one scene where Frank Martin fights one of the main bad guys, and it looks like, oh, Frank Martin's down, but then like a split second, oh no, someone saved him. It's like Frank Martin is usually on top of every single action scene except for this one bit, but don't worry, a split second later, he's saved. It's like Frank Martin is a superhero. A hero in a movie should at least have one scene where it looks like he's about to go down, and when that's about to happen, don't have like a split second later, don't worry, he's okay, look, boom! You know? You can't have tension for a hero when they don't try to make tension. Yeah, that one fight scene though, where there's a bunch of guys that actually might have been able to take him out, that was suspenseful because that fight kept going on. Even when he punched a guy and they fell on the ground, they kept getting back up, wanting to fight him, and that was suspenseful. That's the only suspenseful bit in the action in this movie, because mainly Frank Martin is on top of everything. Even when he was about to go down by this one main villain he fought, a split second later someone else helped him, so technically he was never in danger except for that one scene. Can you watch this movie? Yes, it is a watchable movie and it's not terrible. However, is it perfect? No. Is it good? No. But can you watch it? Yeah. I'm gonna give the Transporter Refueled a C-. Ray Stevenson and Ed Skrein had good chemistry together, the action was fun for the most part, and you had one good girl character that actually had a character, but the other girl characters felt like tag-alongs, the weird editing style that they chose to do, and the villains not being threatening, the plot being dumb. But if you saw the Transporter Refueled, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And I'm going back... If this lawnmower would move along, I'd give you my announcement. And guys, I have something to say. This Tuesday, September 8th, I'm going back to school. I'm entering high school in 9th grade, and videos are going to start slowing down a little bit. I know that it's going to be a little rough for me because I like making these videos. Don't get me wrong, I like making videos. So it's going to be a little tough getting back in the swing of things and still making enough videos for you guys. So if uploads slow down, it's because of school, and I just wanted to let you guys know that. Lawnmower! Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time. Jesus, lawnmower people just show up out of nowhere. Oh my god.